right, everybody. Friday morning, January 23rd, early morning update. Let's get right into it. So we got a pretty set in stone. We got a significant winter storm coming. Predominant type seems to be sleet and freezing rain. Initially starting as a little bit of snow. The one difference is the start time is going to be a little bit later tomorrow than what was initially shown. We kind of thought it was going to start maybe mid late morning tomorrow, but it's looking like the start time could be pushed out to later tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. So you'll still have tomorrow for the most part of the day to hopefully get things buttoned up and ready for wherever you're going to be for the duration of this event. So, why is that? Let's just take a quick peek at that. So, this is relative humidity. So, in order for us to get precipitation at the surface, we need the air to moisten up. This cold air is bringing in not only cold temperatures, but it's also going to be bringing in dry air. So when the precipitation starts falling, you're going to start seeing radar returns coming through probably mid-morning, but nothing's going to be reaching the ground. And that's because it evaporates before it hits the ground. That also causes evaporational cooling, additionally bringing down the temperatures more. So once again, timestamps up here on the left. This is tomorrow about 11 o'clock in the morning. You can see our humidity is around 25%. That's pretty low. But as the day goes on, we're dropping down. You can kind of see it. If you look at the dry air being fed down, and then the moisture starts coming in, and then we moisten up the atmosphere completely going into Sunday morning about 2 in the morning. So I would say our precip time, if this were to verify, maybe later in the afternoon. Wherever you're going to be there by the afternoon, because when this comes in, it's going to come in quick. It's not going to kind of start as some flurries, get a little heavier. This is coming in because once this atmosphere completely saturates and it reaches the ground, it's going to be on at that point. So this is kind of an idea of why the precip time, the dry air initially has to overcome that. So with that being said, let's look at this is the Euro. Let's look and kind of see what it's showing for the precipitation predominant types. So this is tomorrow, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll start getting radar returns, and the Euro is pretty much spot on. It's saying start time around 4 to 10, and it's kind of indicating that dry air. It starts as a little bit of snow. Once again, the blue is snow, orange is sleet, pink is freezing rain. The Euro still keeps our predominant precipitation type, all freezing rain. Let's hope that doesn't happen still. So as we get into overnight tomorrow night, the freezing rain is really, really coming down at a pretty moderate pace. It could be heavier, but it's still coming down pretty good. See, there's our low pressure right there. This is what's happening. This is what's this track further north. Low comes right over us, brings that warm air into the upper levels of the atmosphere. As we talked about before, there's our culprit right there. So this low pressure transfers energy off to our main low pressure off of the coast. When that transition happens, that storm bombs out, feeds in more moisture. So that's kind of why we're going to have two different time frames of heavier precip. But this moves on out, and the Euro has it out of here Monday morning fairly early. So we're looking at a pretty good 24-hour event of solid wintry precipitation coming through. This is the GFS. This is the upper level panels. Once again, I had this pulled up to kind of reiterate the warm layers above us. We've already discussed that before. Anything south of this line here, you're going to be ice. Anything north of that line, you're cold enough for snow. The GFS still, thankfully, has us predominantly sleet. If that verifies, we won't have the substantial ice like freezing rain. The GFS start time, guys, has us around, let's see here. This is tomorrow around 10 o'clock, so it's kind of in agreement with the Euro. It's going to be around 6 or 7 before the precip starts making it, but the GFS is fairly consistent, keeping us mainly sleet. So once again, let's hope this verifies. We want this to verify. It stays sleet pretty much the entire duration of the event. Briefly transitions us over to freezing rain Sunday around 4 o'clock before it heads out. And then it's on out of here. Now, since we're on this model run here, let's peek at the future. It's going to be very cold. Now, timestamps up here on the top left-hand side. Next weekend, here comes some more snow. Another winter storm. Like I said, I'm a snow lover. I'm a snow lover. I'm not an ice lover. Snow's fun. But same things, all the ingredients are on the table for a winter weather event next weekend. So just we'll focus on that next week. But if we weren't talking about the storm this weekend, we would be talking about the one next weekend already. Let's take a look what the GFS is putting out for temperatures. Brutally cold still. Plan for that. The dangers of that with power outages are just not looking good. The GFS is consistently, this is not going to verify, but it's putting out 10 below zero. That's air temp, not wind chill. Air temp. I'd say we're probably going to be in the single digits, close to zero, if not below zero in some areas if we get enough snow, sleet, and freezing rain to fall. Once again, below freezing on Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning. We're staying in the freezer all the way until February 4th. We start getting some more weather here before the next cold air mass comes through. So let's look at the national blended models. Like I said, I like this one because it kind of blends all of the models that are available: Euro, GFS, Canadian, Icon, and blends it all into one. Kind of gives you a general rundown of what all of them are showing. This doesn't show the precipitation types. It just shows moisture falling from the air. So let's see what this is showing for start time in our area. All right, once again, timestamps up here, top left-hand side. So, all right, so it has it coming in. National blended models, when it's running, it won't let you see previous runs, so not able to see. It's like it's starting to come in around 4 to 7 o'clock tomorrow as well. So we're going to have to, the latest blend model on the snowfall total points between 2 and 4 inches of snow and sleet combined for our area. As far as freezing rain goes, it's been pretty consistent between a quarter and a half inch of ice, just freezing rain for our area. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what's happening. So now we're getting into more of our short-term models. This is where we get a better idea of arrival times, amounts, types. Now that we're in the realm of our shorter-term models, we can get a better idea of what's going to fall and how much. This is our North American model. It goes out 84 hours. So we can kind of get an idea of the types and what's going to start. Now, I will say this morning's run was kind of trending with what the Euro was showing earlier, drier air working in. If we get that, the amounts of liquid falling from the sky will be less. It almost cuts it in half. We want to pull for that too. If we can cut the liquid equivalent from the sky falling from 2 to 1, we'll cut our ice in half. We'll cut our sleet in half. We want to cut those in half as much as possible with that dry air to punch in and kind of prevent damaging, crippling ice fall amounts. So let's take a look at what the start time is on this, because we're kind of focusing on start time and precipitation types now. We know it's coming. So now let's just kind of zone in on what's falling and how much. So start time on this one, this is Saturday around 7 o'clock. Like I said, it looks like all models and ingredients. You're going to have most of the day tomorrow to plan and prepare still. This one keeps us predominantly sleet. This is the North American model. Kind of more of agreement with the GFS. I am as well right now. I agree more with the GFS, but it punches in dry air. We want this to continue before getting pushed out and ending as freezing rain. So let's look at the total liquid equivalent of this for the QPF. All the moisture falling, everything together. Surface precipitation, total QPF. All right, so for the entire event, it's showing between, right here along I-85 where the ice is supposed to be worse, between a half inch and 1 inch of liquid. That's a lot better than 1 to 2 inches that was showing. So we want this to verify. The mountains kind of block some moisture from coming in sometimes, and the dry air kind of gets worked in. That happens a lot of winter storms. So we're going to hope that this verifies. We're going to hope that this continues. We want this to dry out some, essentially. Let's see the freezing rain totals for this. Then the North American models show them between a quarter of an inch. We can brunt that. It's still a lot, but we can handle a quarter of an inch, a lot more than a half inch or more. Let's see what it's saying for sleet. Sleet, 2 inches or so. That's a lot. That's going to pack it down on the roads, make them worse. But so sleet, it's going to make the roads a little more difficult to be on for a longer period of time, but we'll have less power outages. So just take the good with the bad on that. Snowfall totals, North American model has zilch for us, nothing. I don't think we're getting much snow out of this unless the cold air continues to come down. It has trended south. If that continues, we could come up on the snowfall totals. We'll see if that continues. This is kind of like a surface representation of how much precip type can fall. It's just another kind of model run, the SREF we call it. So let's look at this one here. Total precip for the next 48 hours, or just total precip total. This is kind of a blend of a lot of models. Between now and Monday and Tuesday, this is still kind of showing higher amounts, but drier for the south. That's kind of been working north, between 1 inch and 1.5 inches of liquid coming down. If you look at the winter weather, I mean, pretty much no model showing much snow for us. This model showing a pretty good amount of sleet for us, but it's got a little more freezing rain for us as well. It still has that 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of sleet or freezing rain for us. Granted, all the models have trimmed back on the freezing rain, but anything over 1/4 inch, you start getting power failures. Anything over 1/2 inch, widespread power failures. Anything over 3/4 inch, devastating, crippling power failures. 3/4 inch is that threshold for that. So this kind of shows the probabilities of snowfall over 1 inch. Here's our area. Not looking good for this. Was never, after the model run started coming on the 20th with the track further north, we knew this wasn't going to be much of a snowstorm. But we still peek in because maybe things can change. All right, so this is kind of the layers of the atmosphere that I show again. This here is the surface temperature. This is the layers of the atmosphere going up. Oops. Must have clicked on the other one here. Let's get back to where we were. Okay, here we go. So this over here is the layers of the atmosphere going up. Once again, this is why we're getting more. Let me make sure that didn't. Okay. Why we're getting ice instead of snow. Upper levels of the atmosphere when the moisture is coming in is going to be above freezing. This is the freezing line right here. So at the surface, we're going to be well below freezing. Up above, we're going to be well above freezing. So this is the Euro. We'll kind of peek in on what it's showing for snow. The earlier runs, like I said, back on the 18th, 19th, 20th, showing a lot of snow. Now the Euro is showing snow for, it was showing snow for next weekend, but it's backed off. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is the time frame. Down here we have the time. So this is going into this weekend, and this is going into next weekend. And then this is the model run. So yesterday's model run, the Euro is showing 14 inches of snow for us. More recent runs are showing next to nothing. So this is going to go back and forth. This is why we don't predict snow for our area this far out. You just don't know. You can't tell. No one knows. Only the good Lord knows. So we can see, the Euro is still showing, the low temperatures for us. I'm just kind of going through here. It's trimmed back moisture levels. Yesterday this was showing 2.5 inches. Now it's showing about 1.25 inches. We want this trend to continue. We want as much dry air to work in as possible for this event coming up. GFS. Still kind of showing the same thing. We got except more sleet, still showing 2 inches of sleet, a little more than 1/2 inch of freezing rain for us. So we're looking at that. Euro, same thing. So this is the North American model. So now that we're in a short-term range, we can look at what the North American model is showing for the same amounts like ice and snow. Pull this up here. All right. Winter weather summary. So the North American model is showing a little more than an inch of sleet for us, a little more than 1/4 inch of ice. So that verifies it's not going to be crippling. We want this to continue. I'm just showing these charts just because they're easy to read, easier sometimes than a map, from what I've been told. So we're going with that. So let's look at what the Weather Prediction Center is showing here. this is the probabilities of at least a ½ inch of ice. Right here we have I-85. Okay, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Charlotte. So right now the probabilities of seeing ice greater than a ½ inch is around 50 to 60%. It's higher down here in upstate of South Carolina where there's going to be more moisture. So we got to pay attention down there. Probabilities of seeing at least a quarter of an inch. I'll refresh the page here. And a refresh again. So this is of at least a quarter of an inch right here along I-85. Pretty much 80 to 90% chance. So that's like saying we're going to have 90% chance of showers tomorrow. If you heard that, you would expect rain. This is about a 90% chance of seeing at least a quarter of an inch of ice. That is better than a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. Amounts are trending down. We want that to continue. This is a quarter of an inch of ice right along I-85 there. Charlotte, Winston-Salem's kind of up in this area. We want this trend to continue. All right. So what can we expect? We have likelihood of seeing at least a moderate winter storm is 80%. So that means hazardous driving conditions, and there'll be closures and disruptions to infrastructure may occur. Disruptions. That's I'd rather that's not as bad. Now, as far as seeing major impacts in our area, that has kind of trimmed back a little bit recently. We want this to continue. Right now, we're about a 50% chance. That's still high, very high. There's still a 50% chance of major impacts, which are considerable disruptions to daily life, dangerous or impossible driving conditions, or possible and widespread closures and disruptions to infrastructure may occur. Widespread disruptions to infrastructure. So that is what we got to watch out for. That has trended back from 80% down to 60%. Let's see if that continues. We don't want extreme. Some models recently, as you have seen, were showing that there is still a chance in certain areas of seeing an extreme winter storm. Let's just hope this trends down still like it has been. Let's see the areas that have at least a small chance of seeing an extreme winter storm, pretty much right along that I-85 corridor. The moderate, right along I-40. You got about a 50% chance of a major winter storm. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Anyway, that's the biggest update. I wanted to kind of run through real quick the amounts, why things are happening, the start times. I'll try and do another video later on of start times, amounts. And we'll kind of review again winter storm impacts, because you got to be prepared for what's going to happen. That's what we're doing now. We're trying to get you prepared. Anyway, just get ready, and we'll kind of plan and see as more model runs come in what's going to happen.